Hi, so this is the law school library that I've created for myself. These books here, there's the one on the brown one, that's a dictionary I already had. I suggest everybody owns a dictionary, and I like this one. It's just kind of antiquated, but charming. And it really kind of gives you like the basis of how the word evolved that by seeing what they used to think of the word 50 years ago. Anyways, these other books cost me about $1,500 and or 1,600, and I don't think you should spend that on books. I think you can go through this program along with me and spend little or nothing on the books. I am enjoying the hell out of myself in class. It is really fun to have other people to talk with. We haven't really started bouncing ideas off of each other, but I'm just getting, I can't describe the feeling to you. If it comes to a time in your life when you can afford to take 3 years off of work, if you have enough money put away, or if, like myself, you're on a pension and you can get scholarships and grants, I don't think I would suggest getting into debt with school loans. But it would actually, if you're young, the school loan way will pay for itself because you'll always have these skills. No one can ever take your brain away from you. Well, unless they hit you over the head really hard and do some major brain damage. But seriously, it's hard to lose. We all kind of sometimes when we get older, organically, we start losing our intellect. It even happened to my dad, who was a surgeon and a brilliant man and master bridge player. But I'm hoping that I'm 63 now, and I'm going to be 66 when I graduate and become a lawyer. So I'm just hoping that this is helping exercise my brain and I don't lose it. Anyways, I'm going to go through the books, and if you do want to kind of take this survey, I'm obviously not a professor. You won't get any credit for this. It's information that everyone should know. And maybe if you start looking at it now, it won't be so mysterious to you. And if you decide to take the LSAT, you'll do really well on it, like I did. I scored a 162, which is, if I had good college scores, I would be able to get into an Ivy League. It's kind of a low Ivy League score. It's a very high score for the school that I got into, which is Bowen. It's University of Arkansas, Little Rock, Bowen. And I actually am loving Bowen. It's not Harvard, but it doesn't cost what Harvard does. And I don't think the people are as snooty as they probably are at Harvard. I'm just guessing. Maybe I'm being prejudicial myself, but it's not. I don't think it's going to be as competitive as we see in movies like Paper Chase, where it's really kind of vicious between the students. I'm really getting a good vibe, and the teachers are accessible. They have office hours. You could just pop in. They have, ways of helping students who don't have a lot of money, like myself. They have a clothes closet. They have a food pantry. It's really helpful. And then, your social life is taken care of. Of course, you aren't going to have very much free time. So, but anyways, to get to what the meat of it is the reading. And that you can do at home, and it's free. Now, this is the 15th edition. And I got the book they told us to because I don't want to be searching around during class, which moves pretty quickly. And she tells you the page, the one instructor I've had so far, the one professor, she'll tell you the page to go to. I wouldn't want to have to go to my table of contents and look through that. But this is a pretty big book, and I made this little key for myself. So when you're looking at case law, there's facts, issues, rules, analysis, results, and the one in yellow I made up myself, which is procedure. So then I go in, and I've been going in and color coding the cases. So, the blue is the rule. So batteries, the knowing or intentional touching of one person by another in a rude, insolent, or angry manner. That's kind of an older rule, but it's still somewhat valid, and it shows how, as you read on, it shows how the rule progressed. But the yellow was procedural. The jury found in favor of IPS and Rosen on the negligence count, and Wallace appealed. So I do that, and then I put in a few notes to myself. And this was just a short little case. That's the whole case. I wish they were all like that. And that's got procedure, facts, analysis, a fact, and then procedure real quickly. The issue, which was the defendant liable for damages caused by a mistake? And then the blue's the rule, which was appellants are clearly liable for damages caused by their mistake, notwithstanding they were acting in good faith, which is kind of a rule, but I don't know if they would call that a rule or if they would call that the conclusion. But then I put the conclusion as, we see no reason for interfering with the conclusion reached by the jury, and the judgment will be affirmed. Anyways, it's a kind of a fun little way to go through. And then if you were in a class and the professor asked you, what's the issue here? You just look for the red. But since you're doing this on your own, you don't need to mark up the books. If you're going to borrow the books from a library, which is what I suggest, then, of course, don't write in them. You can make notes for yourself. I have a couple of little notebooks that I've got, and I went to a yard sale. I go to a lot of yard sales, and I found these notebooks for next to nothing, right? Maybe like a quarter or something. And I actually got paper at a kind of church rummage sale, And I couldn't believe it. They were giving, or not giving, but they were selling paper super cheap. I think it was a quarter for each ream. And so, you can make yourself a little notebook like this. I have two of them, and I got these cool little file compartments, or I don't know what they call these. So I could separate my classes, and I needed two to cover the 5 classes. I have like 5.5 classes, but one of them is just like one credit. So I suggest that you get notebooks and paper, and just either go to those kind of book sales where it's like a library book sale and they're $1 a book or a quarter a book, or at yard sales. People sell books really cheap. Sometimes, if you show up at a yard sale at, let's say, 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, the people are getting kind of tired. They're seeing that their things aren't going to sell immediately. You can go in, and if you notice that somebody was a lawyer and they have all these law books, just tell them what you're doing. Say, I'm trying to teach myself law, just enough to defend myself in court or file a case in regular court instead of small claims. And people are really nice and generous, and especially if they don't want this stuff, they're like, get this out of here. So you could probably pick up a lot of law books very cheap. I know over the years I have, but I just didn't keep them. I probably didn't read them either. So this is the caveat. You have to read the book. So don't just let it sit on your shelf. And if you are following along on this program, I'm going to tell you what we're doing, and you can do that too. So for the first book, the torts book, in the first week we read to page 60. So you can do it. And if you start at the very beginning, a very good place to start. That's an old song from The Sound of Music. I'm not able to get these books in. I'm going to wait until after I finish showing them to you. Okay, here's the second one. But if you do start at the very beginning, then it's not brain surgery, even though I'm actually suing brain surgeons right now, so I can't use that analogy anymore because they weren't brain surgeons either. They were brain surgeons who weren't brain surgeons. Anyways, the second class is contemporary property, and honestly, I haven't read much. I started reading this book, the reading for the first week, and what were they talking about? I don't even remember. I know it was I think it was a case against UCLA. Oh yeah, it was a really interesting case. It was against UCLA, which is where my dad went, at UCLA Medical School. And it was against some professors there who were doing research. They took out, they used somebody's like plasma or something to get DNA. They used his body parts, not like an arm and a leg, but just the cellular level. And he got mad because they made a fortune out of it, out of their research, and the court decided that they did not have to share their research profits with him because it was like their intellectual property that did the research, and they did all the work. I get that. And they said one thing was he couldn't have kept the tissues that they had extracted because it was illegal. Like, there's a statute against it in California. You have to, it's like a health and welfare or something. You have to get rid of your tissues properly. So anyways, the thing I found interesting about it was that there was a dissenting opinion by Stanley Mosk, who, Justice Stanley Mosk, who was the courthouse in Los Angeles is named after. So it was a name I recognized because I'd been to Stanley Mosk many a time during my family law ordeal. And I actually agreed with his dissenting opinion quite a bit. My thought, and I didn't research into this, but my thought is you have to sign an agreement to let people use your body parts, like your eyes, your heart, your kidneys, if you die in an accident. And, I think it's an admirable thing, but there are people who don't want to do that. They want their body intact. They might have some religious belief against it. It just might give them the heebie-jeebies. I don't know. But it's their body. That's my feeling. Like, I'm a libertarian, so I'm thinking, it's their body. We should all have, even when people take body parts out, we should have some say in what happens with them. But the opinion that won is that the benefit to society of doing research outweighs the benefits to those individual or the public policy for letting individuals have autonomy over their body and control over what happens to their bodies and their tissue. And I'm not even going to say it. It's something about, like, if they wanted to do research on, like, women's menstrual cycles, like, that would be really gross. Okay, I'm sorry. I've probably just lost half my audience. But, that's what's really fascinating about law, is that you're asking questions about really awkward situations. Because if it was easy, everybody would know what you do. But, some things get a little bit ugly and strange. And I guess that's where lawyers come in. So this is a class on civil procedure, and I have not even cracked it open. You're seeing it being opened for the first time. But civil procedure is pretty basic, and it's extremely important. And so, like, I learned civil procedure, how to file a complaint, and I had one case that went through discovery, and it was really simple. Nobody gave me any trouble, and we won that case. But sometimes the lawyers will just, like, I have a case right now against UAMS, and the I think my husband's coming upstairs. Oh, he is. Wait, catch his picture. Say hello to the audience. I'm doing a YouTube. Love you, babe. So, what was I talking about? Oh, he still makes me lose my mind every time I talk. Yeah, I know. I can't think after I don't see you. Okay. And I'm 63. Anyways, this lawyer at UAMS, like, she didn't answer any of my interrogatories. She didn't give me but like 2 documents that I asked for, and there should have been thousands and thousands of pages. Like, seriously. And then you have to go through this whole like a motion to compel. And the last time that I was in a lawsuit where they did not want to give me the discovery I asked for, I didn't push hard enough. I've heard lawyers call it putting their feet to the fire, and you have to do it. And if you don't, well, they use it against you. And even if you have a case that should win, it might not. So the next class is contracts, problems in contracts. And I've had a lot of experience in contracts, and it's probably one of that and civil procedure are like the 2 that I would say everyone needs to know, because you might never have a tort. A tort's like a wrong, like battery, an intentional tort's battery, assault, false imprisonment, trespass on land, trespass on chattel, which is like personal property. And, hopefully you never have any of those cases, but they're going to be rare. But everyone has contracts every day. I mean, you buy a phone, you have a contract. You buy a house, you have a contract. You buy a car. Everything that you buy, you basically are going to contract for that purchase in some way. But, it's then, you have your job, you have your contract, you have professional services, you have a contract, you have a LLC. Now, one of the professors I talked to at the orientation said that the LLC agreement's not really a contract. I mean, I'm going to have to dig into that one a little bit, because I'm thinking it is a contract. But that's why I'm in law school. Maybe I'm wrong, and I'll learn that I'm wrong. Maybe the professor has some, he did kind of give it that little nuanced answer. Like, it's not really a contract, it's somewhat, which I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to dig into that a little bit more. I don't think he's my contracts professor, the one who said that. So I'll ask the professor I have and see if he has a different answer. Anyways, the next class, I don't know what... Oh, and I forgot, I don't have my blue book here. Oh, that's over at the other side of the room. You also need and one of the books that I would buy and keep, just like a dictionary, is the blue book that shows you how to write citations and read citations. If you learn to write them, you learn to read them. So we also have a class in research, writing, and analysis. I think is what it stands for. RWA is what they call the class. And this is probably the book for that. And again, I didn't look through this one. This looks more like it's going to show you what's available on the internet and in books, like libraries. And I will share that with you because that's what I'm telling you, is that there's so much information out there available. It's available really cheap or free. And if you just take the time, you could teach yourself. And if you're listening to this and you're young, like even if you're in high school, hopefully it will give you the incentive to get yourself in a position where you could go to law school and get that license. Because since you're going to learn all of this for yourself, and this is why I'm kind of in law school, is that I learned so much of this for myself, and I've had so many lawsuits and so many situations that did not end with a lawsuit, but where I might have gone to arbitration, or I just wrote a really good contract for myself, and so it never came to a problem. But if you're going to learn everything, you might as well be able to also help other people. And if you don't get the license, it's actually in all the states I've looked at, it is a misdemeanor. And then if you do it again, practicing law without a license, it becomes a felony. And so why not just have that license and be able to help other people? So there's this other book, A Lawyer Writes. And again, you don't have to get these exact books. Whatever you could find in your library, or like I say, at a book sale, and it says, something about legal analysis. So this one, I kind of looked through the table of contents, and it tells you different kinds of writing that you're going to read and writing that you're going to write, like emails and analysis and client letters, professional emails, editing and polishing, persuasive writing. So now I have a college degree from Colorado State University, Fort Collins. I got it a long time ago. I think I was 20 years old when I graduated, and I'm 63 now, so 43 years ago. And my degree was in journalism. They called it technical journalism. And so again, if you're young and you're watching this series, I hope that you will think about getting a degree or, double major, and one of them being either journalism or some kind of writing like English, or I don't know so much about like creative writing. I think that journalism was perfect because it teaches you to make things that are complex a lot easier for people to understand. And so that has served me well, and it's really good exercise for your brain to write. The more you do it, the better you'll get. Oh, and I'm going to tell you, I have written a book about my other favorite subject, poker, And my son has been writing these books. He doesn't write about necessarily poker, but they're like poker players. So Always See the River is one of them. The Whole Table Limps In is one of my sons, Sean Lynn. This is mine. I wrote with Sean. We took turns writing chapters, or I wrote most of them, but he wrote some. And it's called Balls of Crystal and Steel: How to Play Poker Without Losing Your Assets. And it's a good book, if I may say so myself. My compliments to the chef. Anyways, hopefully you'll go out and start going to libraries, start going to book sales, estate sales, and go into expensive neighborhoods and go to the estate sales or the garage sales, because a lot of times they've, in an expensive neighborhood, they had a lawyer living there and he's passed away, and now nobody wants his books except for you. So go get him. Thanks for watching. If you're enjoying this series, subscribe, like, and leave comments. I will get back to all the comments with replies. So please comment below.